with the way I achieve it is probably with bound effort. That's the way I achieve
Well,
it.
you can do it with free effort as well.
Whatever, you know, it's not that you have to do it with those effort things, and it's not that you necessarily have to be on the periphery. I can make a transverse or a central pathway, but have the sense, the feeling that I'm distancing myself from my center is distancing itself from, I started to go central. Okay, then there's central tension, in which I have a kinetic sensibility.
What did you just show?
I showed the idea of a peripheral tension.
Peripheral tension.
In which
thank
you have a sense, and it's like, now I have no tension in ballet. It gets useful when you're trying to say, do your port de bras and have a sense that that you're maintaining your core and there's a distancing. I mean, it's just a way of distance. Okay.
But that can also be a central tension.
That's right. Well,
Because your port de bras coming from your shoulder blades.
Let me finish, okay? Keep trying to talk about a particular idea, qualitative. It has a kind of qualitative feeling about it. Press so that we can see Susan. Uh-oh. There she is. And again, it's a little murky, but they really made a big deal. It's so much so that on the certificate and on our tests, there were like 2 or 3 questions on CBT tension. Not that I necessarily agree with that, but that's another story. All right, now, central is when you have a sense of a kinetic chain, either going away from or going with. Okay, now I'm doing it in the way that's the easiest way to go through my central pathway, but I could do it on a transverse pathway, or I could do it on a peripheral pathway. Jan, am I doing it correct? Is anybody else, is this familiar?
I'm demonstrating.
You're trying.
Figuring things out moving
Do
forward,
it,
sorry.
okay. And then the last is transverse, which is to me the murkiest, but it's like you constantly changing between peripheral tension and central tension, and there's a mutual, and it's a mutual relationship between your periphery and your center that's constantly changing. Am I keeping a distance? Am I moving up? Does this make sense?
Yes, and it's to me it gets to kind of like the heart of the discussion here. It's like, is there a spatial emphasis or a body emphasis? Because
right.
As you went through the different central peripheral spatially, what I noticed was the change in your body shaping
Yes.
to support getting at those
Exactly.
places.
There's
in
an
space.
affinity.
I wanted to ask
Exactly.
Anne.
You were meandering with your body.
I wanted to ask Anne whether in your early studies you had, in the Yost-Later school, for example, one of the things that Irmgard did with the class that still, everybody involved who did it remembers it.
In your CERT program.
In the CERT program, not just my CERT program, but years before me and years after me, every time Irmgard did it
When
with the class.
Irmgard was around. Okay, great.
It was something that was stunning and affecting, life-changing, which were the flying when falling diagonals, where Irmgard would have us go,
Seductive, your work.
she'd have us go up in the, diagonal of the room, all the way flying and sliding across the floor on our diagonals, on the diagonal of the room. And I know that people all, when she said it initially, everybody said, it can't be done. I'm not doing that. I'm going to die if I do that. I can't possibly, and that's the spatial tension there. But was that done with Laban earlier? Was that something that you all
None
did?
of this resonates with you.
This whole
Is it-
idea of tension.
Well, it wasn't mentioned back when I was in the CERT program as a tension, but it clearly was. That's what you're all referring to, and it holds you up. It's what allows you that without killing yourself
Lines
to
of energy.
to
organizes
start
the
up
body
there way
to
up in the
support.
diagonal and then just go flying until you're sliding across the floor on the opposite end of the room.
Here's another interesting example.
And you don't think you can do it.
Yeah.
You
How
can't.
was it described?
I can follow up on that.
Go ahead.
We didn't do that at the years later school. And in fact, Lavin wasn't teaching. He was ill at that point. But this preparation and falling to the floor was what got me the job with Agnes DeMille.
Oh.
Because she wanted, she'd asked for Danichon, pas de basse, rangeté en tournant, etc., all the usual. And of course I could do Danichon because I'd been studying with Sean. And then she wanted fall. And
She
ballet
wanted
dancers, of
fall.
course, had a hard
A
time.
fall.
And the Graham trained dancers did. And I did prepare there, fall there, get up.
And you got the job.
Where did you study?
I love
I
it.
got the job on that fall.
Fabulous. You know, this idea of tension, it resonates with, sometimes it doesn't resonate with me because it's so murky and defined in so many different ways that people drive me the wanting to make sure I understand everything clearly person crazy, but at the same time, it resonates with me emotionally. And we have, and this is kind of going off the track, but here's a way that it could be, another way it could be applied, and again, this is something that they talk about in the CERT program, that we can also talk about this, let's say, apply it in different ways between people. Now, like if we're having a conversation and you know, we keep our distance, you know, that has a certain affect to it. And when it, right, we keep, and then there are times in our conversation when there's a give and take, a central kind of thing. And then there's the conversations in which we're constantly, you see, you can start to play with it
Who
in that way.
initiates and
Yeah.
then there's a response and you have a give
And then you
take.
could get into pathway, that not the pathway that's in my body, but the pathway between, I mean, all sorts of fun, creative, juicy stuff with these things.
Well, that
Well,
was
I'm going to ask the stupid question now, because I'm just, it's no beyond.
What is lab notation?
Touche.
That's where it's stolen from the Navajos. Navajo blankets. and
I
they
love
go,
it.
Wow! That's what we need.
But Zach, that's what we're being reduced to at this moment. No, but in the Bartenieff example of, you know, the two planes, as far as tension goes, I'm going to say this not politically. Who the heck cares? Because each individual is going to have a different point of tension in their body to accomplish it.
And that's
So why
the thing,
do,
as long as
but
you
why
have
does anyone care then? Because you know, because of gravity and who we are, you know that it exists. Why is it such a big thing? I'm
'cause
sorry, I said it
some
was-
people don't have it fully fleshed out in their bodies, and they have it in particular ways. So from the training perspective, it's like you want people to be aware of it and then develop it in a multiplicity of ways. They might have it one-dimensionally, but not two-dimensionally,
I think
or
that's a great
three-dimensionally, or
But
Right.
can it be developed? I mean, I
Oh,
look
yeah,
at some people
absolutely.
Everything,
that are
right?
so unkinetic, and it's like there's nothing that you will ever do with those people to help them.
no,
They are
So it's
beyond.
training.
well, that's-
I
that's
know.
a-
They're
that's a-
living in physical bodies, and they are so unkinetic.
But
It's
that's a
unbelievable.
spectrum
You
in
can
everything.
see
That's a
people
spectrum in
change.
effort. It's a spectrum. You have a spectrum. You have a range, and each person develops their range within their
Right.
limitations. But you have a range of breadth. You have a range of effort and dynamics, and how you can.
But can I finish asking him to finish because that wasn't answering my question.
But also what happens
then-
is you're
so-
ultimately trying to give people the tools to help themselves. So
Right.
Okay, so,
It's-
but my question, so that I understand, so then basically you're saying is you take someone who's kinetically deficient in one aspect of plane. We all have our plane preferences. That much I do understand. We all like to move in a certain plane. So it's moving outside of those boundaries. But so then what are you, then you're saying that in is it space, and then this is space harmony?
Yes.
Okay, so then within the space harmony, you have someone analyze, like Oona. You have analyze her movement, and then you pinpoint where she's deficient, and then you give her tools to work on those so that she becomes more rounded.
We're in the studio moving together, and you know, I'm as a teacher, I'm languaging what I see, and we are exploring concepts. And it's like, well, you know, Oona had a very clear spatial tension in dimensions, but when she went to diameter, it wasn't so clear. So then it's like, well, okay, what did you realize that was allowing you to achieve that so clearly, one-dimensionally, and then how can we explore translating that two-dimensionally? So it's like I'm giving her feedback on what I see, but she's doing the work. She's making the connections and solving the riddle for herself.
And ultimately, she becomes her own teacher.
Yes.
Well, also things like, well, Carla Guggenheim, ballet dancer, and Bharatanatyam. When she was starting to do Orisi, she was in the CERT program, but Bharatanatyam, all very vertical plane, everything being, and ballet, all very vertical plane. And when she started exploring these things and doing Orisi, she was like dizzy and nauseous, and but working through exercises as she got better at the experience, she was never going to be out of the vertical plane. She was never going to be uncomfortable being in a vertical plane. That was her level of comfort, but she got better at other movements and became a better mover altogether.
They expanded her movement range and possibility and availability.
And we are, and I think we're
Susan
allowed.
has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
And just tagging on what Frederic said, then the mover has the option, with the help of the instructor, to go back and explore more possibilities, either through patterns of connectivity, or the Bartania fundamentals, or dynamics, or effort, or spatial pathways, or approach to the kinesphere, or images,
Or
any
actions.
one of the tools that's available.
Right.
I'm going to have to leave. I have another meeting that I need to prepare for. Thank you so much.
Well,
I
thank
must
you.
miss
for
again.
And it was great to have you.
See you.
Nice
Nice
to
to
Thank
meet
you.
you.
Thank
Have
you. It's
a-
so much
have a-
fun to be transported.
And to have your input was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
It
it.
was great. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
And I'll see you all
Bye.
later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, I just, we only have a few minutes left, and so,
There's a
Anne, do you
question
have
from-
some more things that you wanted to
I
say?
just wanted to go back to this question about direct path, because I think the idea is important, the possibility of the movement. So maybe it should be called the natural path.
Another
I get scared with the word natural.
Natural is
Natural
like
to
a
who?
red flag word.
Because it's
Okay.
natural to
Pedestrian,
use.
pedestrian and natural are
There you
two
go.
words that are just red flags.
What is the other one?
Pedestrian and
Natural.
natural. It's like, what the heck do they mean in
Because-
a dance context?
Yeah,
It's-
or in any context, because
Basic.
what's natural to you. But maybe we could come up with some
Basic.
other
Basic to different.
basic
But I
might be
think the
better.
minute you reach a level of proficiency in dance, you are never natural again.
And are
You
we?
can't be. You have forgotten how.
Okay, forget about that. You have shut down the
We
word
needed you.
that
We knew we
at
needed
one
you.
point we all agreed on. Direct path versus straight. The direct path from point to point. And, okay, you've shot that down. It doesn't exist anymore. It isn't serviceable. What are we going to have instead? Challenge.